In episode 7, as he's flying through the galaxy, the Mandalorian gets a message from Grief Karga saying that things have changed. The client, being obsessed with getting the child back, has overtaken the city with Imperial guards. And if the Mandalorian is willing to come back and do one last mission and kill the client, Grief Karga is willing to let him keep the child and scrap his record and make things right with the guild. But before he heads back to Navarro, he heads to Sorgan to get some backup. He's able to convince Kara to come along with him after saying that the city has been overtaken by Imperials, and the two set off for Navarro. And while flying there, he's explaining to Kara how the child will never be safe until they take out the client. And even though he knows he could be walking into an ambush, he doesn't really have a choice. But then all of a sudden, the ship starts flying crazy, and when they go upstairs to the pilot's seat, they find Baby Yoda there controlling the ship. And once they get the ship back under control, Kara says, "Do you have anybody that can take care of him?" And in fact, he does. So he heads back to meet with the farmer. And after the initial pleasantries that they exchange, with the farmer saying that he used to actually fight against Kara's squad, but he bought his freedom and now lives peacefully, the bounty hunting droid that was working with the Mandalorian in episode 2 shows up, offering them tea. And immediately the Mandalorian wants to kill him. But the farmer, who we learn in this episode's name is Quill, says, "No, wait, I reprogrammed him. Because after you destroyed all of them, I went and picked up the pieces. And it took me a while to reprogram him and train him, but basically now he's nothing more than a butler, although he is trained to defend." But you can tell, even with this explanation, the Mandalorian still does not trust this droid at all. But he does trust Quill and tries to hire him to protect the child. But Quill is only willing to do so if the droid can come along with his blurg. And since the Mandalorian doesn't really have any bargaining room, he reluctantly agrees. So the Mandalorian, Kara, IG-11, Quill, the blurg, and the child all head to Navarro. And as they're heading to Navarro, the Mandalorian and Kara are engaged in an arm wrestling contest. But when the child sees this, he thinks that the Mandalorian is in danger and uses the Force to start choking Kara, which freaks her out. She says that's not okay. But they all see the power of the child, and Quill says, "Now your story about the Mudhorn makes even more sense." When they arrive on Navarro, they're greeted by Grief Karga and 2 of their bounty hunters. He explains how the town is now overrun by ex-Imperials, and he says that he should probably have Kara watch the ship, but the Mandalorian says, "No, she's coming with us." Grief tells him that they'll camp out and wait for sunrise, and when that happens, they'll head into town and kill the client. And as they make camp for the night, Grief Karga goes over their plan. Grief and the Mandalorian will head into the house with the client. They'll use the child as bait to do so, and when they're joined at the table with the client, the Mandalorian will shoot him, and that'll be it. And since all of his reinforcements are ex-Empire, once they lose their paychecks, they're not going to fight. But the Mandalorian says, "Yeah, but what if they do?" He says, "Okay, well, hypothetically, if they do, then we have 2 bounty hunters and Kara over there who will take them out." And right as he says that nothing can go wrong, they're attacked by Daenerys Targaryen's dragons. I mean, all 3 of them start attacking the group. And after the group is able to fight them off, they notice that Grief Karga is injured pretty badly. And as they try to figure out how to heal them, the child comes over, touches them, uses the Force, and heals them. And that's when they all realize more and more how much power the child actually has. The next day, though, they wake up and they head to the outskirts of the town, and Grief says, "Well, I guess this is it," and turns around and shoots his other bodyguards and comes clean. He tells Kara and the Mandalorian and Quill that the plan originally was to kill them and take the child, because the client is offering a massive bounty for him. But after the child saved his life, he just can't bring himself to do so. So if the Mandalorian wants to kill him, that's fine, but he thinks he has a better idea, because that child is never going to be safe as long as the client is there. So Grief wants to help him go down there into the town and kill the client. And as Kara is trying to convince him, "No, it's not worth it, just kill Grief right here," the Mandalorian knows that he's right. The child is never going to be safe as long as the client is alive. So the Mandalorian comes up with a plan that they're going to act like the Mandalorian was caught by Kara. Grief is going to get him into the town. They're going to use Baby Yoda's pod as bait, while Quill actually takes Baby Yoda back to the ship. And once he arrives there, he's going to set a protocol that won't allow anybody inside the ship. But once they're walking through town, they realize how many stormtroopers actually are in the town. And Kara, who is hesitant about this plan to begin with, is even more so. But once they actually get into the building where the client is, Grief Karga's words rang true. There's only 4 stormtroopers. And they sit down with the client, and the client is just waxing poetic about how great the Empire is and how the New Republic hasn't done a great job. And he gets a message from a guy named Moff Gideon, who asks him if he has the child, which the client says yes, he's sleeping at the moment. He actually hasn't seen him. And Moff says, "Well, look again." And then all of a sudden, their building that they're in is shot up by death troopers. The Mandalorian radios to Quill immediately saying, "We're bunkered down, get to the ship immediately." But when he sends that transmission, it's overheard by 2 stormtroopers who head off on bikes. Moff Gideon arrives a short time later via a TIE fighter and starts addressing them, telling them that they have no idea what they actually have, but it'll be his soon. And the whole time, the Mandalorian is frantically trying to get in touch with Quill. But unfortunately, those stormtroopers caught up with Quill, killed him, and grabbed the child. Thank you for watching this recap. If you do not see the next one up in the corner right there on the end screen, don't worry, it'll be up shortly. Please consider following the channel. That'd be cool. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't, there's a thumbs down button for a reason.